You know my elephant ear plant? Well, something unusual started emerging out of it. First, I thought it was a new leaf, but then I realized that it's a flower bud, actually 2 of them. Even though alocasias are grown mainly for their beautiful foliage, they can produce flowers, even when grown indoors. I started monitoring the buds, and it took 2 weeks for the first one to finally open up. And here it is. But wait a minute, does this look like a flower to you? And what part exactly is the flower? Let me introduce you to a spadix, an inflorescence type characteristic for the family Araceae. The family Araceae, whose members are referred to simply as aroids, might sound exotic to you, and many of you have probably never heard of it. But the truth is that you're probably more familiar with these plants than you think. Houseplants such as alocasias, peace lily, or even pothos belong to this family. Some of them, such as calla lilies or anthuriums, are commonly sold as cut flowers. And with the last 2 mentioned, you can see how similar looking they are to our elephant ear flower structure. The actual inflorescence, spadix, is this cylindrical, pencil-like structure in the middle. This sheath, enclosing the spadix, is often mistaken for a petal, but it is a bract called a spathe. In this alocasia, the flowers are unisexual, so we have a separate male and separate female flowers, all attached to a fleshy stem, creating a spadix. Notice the spadix has a different texture on the lower and the upper part. But there's more to it. To show you the whole spadix, I need to open up the lower part of the spathe. The spathe overlaps here and creates a so-called floral chamber, so you might already guess what's inside. First, I tried to gently open up the sheath, but the 2 sides of the spathe were wound together so tightly that all I accomplished was to tear a piece off. The next day, I tried to go in with a knife, and after a somewhat clumsy attempt, I finally revealed the bottom of the spadix, covered in female flowers. Notice that the spathe didn't come apart easily, and also it is much thicker and harder than the upper part of the spathe, and there's a good reason for this sturdiness. Alocasias are protogynous, which means the female flowers mature before the male flowers. When stigmas become receptive, the sheath covering the female section of the spadix loosens up, letting the pollinators in. Once the stigmas are not receptive anymore, the spathe constricts the spadix again. At this time, the male flowers start to produce pollen. The male flowers are these little hexagon-like structures. Every single one of them is a male flower. The rest of the spadix is sterile, and it can help to lure in pollinators. But maybe not in the way you think. Some Araceae are thermogenic, which means they're capable of producing heat. Skunk cabbage, an aroid commonly found in the eastern US, is one of the first spring flowers to bloom. Its spadix is capable of producing enough heat to melt the snow around it, allowing the inflorescence to bloom and later develop into fruits. The heat also intensifies the odors that different species emit, and it is often not a pleasant smell. A good example is the inflorescence of the Titan arum, which you might have heard of as it is the biggest inflorescence in the world. The spadix temperature can reach nearly 40 degrees Celsius, which in combination with its rotten meat-like smell must be quite an experience. And just as we saw in our Alocasia inflorescence, the same structures are found in this Titan arum. Looking closely at the spadix, we clearly recognize the female flowers, the male flowers, and the sterile zone. There are of course some variation of both spathe and spadix amongst Araceae, so let me show you some examples. In Anthurium, we can clearly recognize the spathe and the spadix. The spadix, however, is covered in bisexual flowers, which is different from the examples we've already talked about. You can find bisexual flowers also in the peace lily, which many of you might know, as it is a popular houseplant. And finally, we have these yellow calla lilies. The yellow part is the spathe, and when we look inside, we can clearly distinguish female flowers at the bottom and male flowers above them, some of which are covered in pollen. I want to hear from you. Have any of your Araceae houseplants ever bloomed? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.